Why don't we start there? Why don't you tell me like how you got into like the freelancing copywriting world?
Um, well, basically, I was just trying to find something I could do while staying at home because I didn't want to get a job where I had to leave and put my kids in daycare.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so I just was looking into what I could do, and then I just read a lot about freelance writing, and I've always liked writing, always been pretty good at it. So I was like, all right. So I started doing that, and I mean, it wasn't that long ago, honestly. That was like in January.
Right. Right.
I was kind of in a funk for like years after I with the narcotics, just kind of like not doing anything, just kind of like living but not
Yeah.
moving forward, I guess.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
weren't so engaged, right? You weren't so like active in everyday
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally snapped out of that last year. So
Okay. Nice. Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe we can talk about that. So, like your story, I read the blog and I had no idea. I think you might have mentioned something back in the day where you had some back problems, but I had no
Mhm.
idea your history with the narcotics addiction and all that. Do you want to
Yeah.
kind of summarize that really quick?
Yeah, basically I was serving a mission for my church, I guess. And I was over in New Zealand and I started having some problems with my leg, just like it went numb and stuff. And so they found out I had a tethered spinal cord. I needed to go home to have surgery for it. And so
Uh-huh.
I did. And after I had surgery, they gave me like oxycodone right when I came home from the hospital. I was in the hospital for like a week, and then they gave me like 4 days worth, I think, of oxycodone.
Yeah.
And then it ran out, but I had no prescription for pain medication or anything. And I was in like super, super horrible pain.
Right.
And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you need to be taking Vicodin or Lortab or hydrocodone, whatever. They're all the same thing." And so I was like, "Okay, I don't even know what that is." So he gave it to me, but then once I took it, like all the pain I was feeling was gone. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I just took it. And after like 2 months, I was like, I don't know if I should still be on this. Like, I would think my pain's better for my back. Like, I know it's a pretty intense surgery, but 2 months is a long time.
Yeah.
So I called the doctor, and he was just like, nope, you need to be taking it. You can't get off of it. And I was like, okay, why? And he's like, your body needs it. You have to take it. And I was like, okay, because I didn't really know any better. So I kept taking it. And that turned into 2 years. And it caused so many problems. Narcotics are crazy. Like oh yeah, I don't know. Like it's a miracle that Chris and I got married, because I met him when I was taking them, and I
Uh-huh.
got off them before we got married. But like it was a miracle just because I was
Wow.
crazy, just like really, really emotional, and I don't know. But yeah, so I couldn't do it anymore. My dad helped me get off of
Mhm.
them. I had a couple of doctors that were giving me prescriptions, and I needed more than even both doctors giving them to me because my body just was so dependent. I needed more and more, and then the doctors refused to give me more, and I was like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And plus, I knew like I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. That was a pretty big thing that I've always wanted my whole life, and I knew I couldn't taking narcotics.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I have to get off them. So then my dad found a way. Like he found it online, and we just applied it to me, like kind of like changed it a bit, and then it took like 3 or 4 months, and I got off of them. And yeah, then shortly after, Chris and I got engaged, thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we moved to Japan. So when I was in Japan, I was still like the withdrawals weren't as bad. Like every day was a little better, but it wasn't like I didn't feel completely normal again until another year after we moved to Japan, probably.
Right. Right. Yeah, because at some point, I wonder how this was, but like you needed it for the pain, but
Hmm.
then of course, maybe the addiction superseded that, and then you just needed it to feed your addiction. What was the
Yeah,
what was the pain like? How was that right?
well,
Or
the pain, yeah, it did actually kind of changes the way that you feel pain.
Mhm.
The narcotics. So like I felt like completely like I felt horrible pain at first when I was taking them, but then it kind of like changed the pain to where it was like almost like I'd had pain if I didn't take it, but it wasn't pain from my back. It was just pain in my whole body.
Yeah,
Like I just had to have it, or else I don't know. It's hard to
yeah,
explain, but like I just was like suffering everywhere if I didn't take it, not just my back. So it just completely
Mhm.
changed. But then like yeah, like I had to have it. Like in my mind, I was like, I have to have it, or I'm gonna just be hurting everywhere and
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah, because part of it's probably psychological. Would you say?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think
So
probably most of it's psychological.
I know, and I was surprised, when I read your story, like the doctor putting you on it, just said, stay on it, and never really having a plan to get you off it. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there wondering, how long am I going to be on this? But like, he never actually addressed that. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I won't say that I'm shocked, because, you know, I've had my own medical experiences, nothing like yours, but like, yeah, like they were very content to just keep you on a pill for the rest of your life. And I
Yeah.
just can't imagine that, knowing how dangerous and harsh these narcotics are, that a doctor could do that and expect someone to
Yeah.
be,
It's crazy.
yeah,
And I've read about people like who like are in the same situation I was in, and the doctors won't help them get off, and they won't like give them, like they won't give them more, obviously, because they can't, because they have their rules. But then like these people turn to heroin because they
yeah.
can't get narcotics, or they overdose on their narcotics, getting them is just a different way, and then they die. So like
Mhm.
it's awful.
Yeah, so the doctor kind of, I don't know, you would think they would have a larger role in getting you off that, kind of stepping you down, or maybe
Yeah.
even doing what your dad did. Maybe you can tell us about that a little bit more, like what your dad actually was doing.
Yeah, so my dad, he was just trying to help me. Like he actually booked me into a treatment center that I was going to go to. But then I just was having other problems then, and the
Hmm.
doctor he like told me we needed to have surgery again because I was in so much pain. And I was like, no, that's not it. Like it's that this was the surgeon that we went back to, and he was like, we need to do surgery again. And I was like, no, that's not it. Like I have a severe narcotic addiction. I was taking a crazy amount at that point, and yeah, so that was just their answer. So then my dad was like, all right, that's enough of this. And so he just did a lot of research, and he actually
Hmm.
found this woman who had talked about how her doctor had helped her get off narcotics. I guess she blogged about it, and she
Okay.
just talked about like the way he did it. Like he helped her by tapering down slowly from the pills, but then just like increasing like the freak it's hard to explain it, but like, so instead of taking it like every hour to every 2 hours to every 3 hours, it was like every hour to every half hour to every 2 hours kind of thing.
Okay.
Like the time goes back up but then back down, but you're still like going down by the pills.
Right.
So he just like took all that information he found, and he made a specific plan for me. And then I moved back home, and we just applied it for 3 or
Yeah.
4 months. Then I got off of it, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, so did that involve going to like a lesser drug at some point too?
So I wasn't even just taking the narcotics. They had prescribed me tramadol, which actually I think is a narcotic too, but they had
Mhm.
prescribed me that, which is lesser than Vicodin, to help with the pain. And I was also taking antidepressants to help with that. And I was taking gabapentin, which is for nerve pain. And
Mm.
so I had to get off all those drugs before I started getting off the actual narcotic. So yeah.
What a process. I
Yeah.
can't imagine. Well, I mean, you know, the reason I was definitely interested in just knowing you in this process, but like me personally, I have like a passion to try to help people, you know, with their health in general, just to kind of encourage people or empower people to take their health in their own hands and
Mhm.
really not rely on a doctor. And, you know, when a doctor does say something like that, like, okay, just take the pills, just think twice, you know, like think for yourself. Does that feel right? A lot of people don't actually go through that, or they do, and they just maybe don't even take action. But I mean,
Mhm.
your situation is kind of difficult because it doesn't seem like you could have done this on your own. You were
Yeah.
fortunate to have your father. So there is a clear case where you need help, but it came from the right place, and the right figure did that. So like,
Yeah.
that's the interesting thing, is like there is a point where everyone needs to reach out for help, and
Yeah.
hopefully they have the resource and the person who can provide it, you know.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Definitely.
look at the opioid addictions today. You know, we see this crisis going on. It's like, I think that's the main problem. No one has someone like, say, your dad, in every
Yeah.
case. Go ahead and do that process and really
Yeah.
second guess, you know, the doctor's orders. You know.
Yeah, I actually just launched a website to try to help people with it, just because like I felt like I should, but then life happened and I didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But just because it's like the hardest thing ever to try to accomplish and try to get off while you're going through it. So
Mhm.
I just set up a website just to explain like my situation, and I like shared the plan that I use just to try to help people who need to
Yeah.
get off it, because that's how I got off it, something on the
Mhm.
internet. So
Right. Right. And then there's a whole other side, is like the awareness aspect, right? Like where
yeah.
you know, a simple, like some people, you know, have a simple injury or whatever, a broken leg or some kind of car accident that leads to addiction one day. But I guess
Mhm.
awareness could be the other side of this effort, you know. And like, what
Yeah.
would you say to someone, you know, in general, or just a general message? What would you kind of say about narcotics and these prescriptions in general?
I mean, like someone who's taking them or before they even start.
Yeah, or some before they even start, like, because look, there's the process. Like, no one expects to get hurt or injured, but like, if you do find yourself, say, in a hospital, know that this is what's likely to happen. You might wake up with an IV in your arm, and they're already pumping you with something,
Yeah.
or you walk out of the doctor's office with a prescription that,
Yeah.
you know, that's, you might not know what that leads to next. So it's like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, no, I definitely say that, like, just to have a plan, like, just to be aware of what you're taking. Like, don't just take it without knowing what it was, like me. I
yeah,
know, like, I know it's hard when you're in pain, but, and then just have a plan to get off it. Because, I mean, I've had 2 C-sections since then, and they've prescribed me narcotics both times. And both times they only gave them to me for 2 weeks max. And then I was fine. Like, and that's a pretty severe surgery too, you know, where you're cut open. And so if I can not take narcotics after 2 weeks and just handle or just get by with ibuprofen, then like most surgeries, I think you can.
yeah,
Not all, but most. So I mean, I would just plan to take it for a few weeks and then stop. Like, don't take it longer than that.
yeah. That, I mean, that's a great point. What you said with the C-section, yeah, like 2 weeks, and then you're back onto something minor like ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Great example. Um,
And I think like in my situation with my back, like that could have easily been what I could have done. You know, I just didn't
yeah.
know.
Wow.
So,
Well, I mean, there you have it again. I think like that mentality of just trusting the doctor's orders and knowing what the doctors are really all about. Like, I'm not saying every one of them, but basically a lot of them are, you know, in it to make money. And
yeah.
that's the sad reality. And, you know, you think about it, a lot of them come out of college or in med school with huge debt. And so what do they want to do? They want clients, and they don't even look at you as a patient anymore. It's really looking at you as a
Yeah.
client in their business. So think about that. And if more and more people have that awareness, I think you can kind of see that it's, you know, it's not, it's like really trust but verify kind of situation.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I mean, I mean, and that's kind of where like I come into the picture, trying to say, look, learn more about your body, learn more about medical options and you know, I guess, invasive surgeries, and avoiding narcotics and all that as best you can.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear more about your website. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think you're going to do next as far as like with that project? And,
I mean, I set it up where it has a forum because for me, like when I was on the narcotics, I would go to forums online and just basically to see other people going through the same thing I was, because it's not like I could just talk to anyone, you know,
yeah.
because if you're not going through it, you don't understand it. But so I have a forum on there for people to talk, and then I have like the treatment plan that I use, so like a way for them to get off. But
Mhm.
yeah, and then I have just like a spot maybe where they can share their stories and just let everyone else know what they're going through with the
Yeah.
blog, just that kind of thing.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then getting it out there on social media is obviously,
Uh-huh.
um, because it's the parents who need an idea too, right? Like,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
whoever it is, you know, to help. How can they do?
Someone to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because well, the whole reason I made the website is because there's so much out there for treatment centers. If you want to pay thousands of dollars, you can go and get help, but not everyone can do that. Not just because of money, but also because of like time. Like if you have a family, that's not really reasonable. But
Right.
there's next to no self-help kind of stuff for
Mhm.
narcotic use. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So you're kind of one of the pioneers, right? In
yeah,
this, in this sense.
yeah,
Yeah. Nice. So, I mean, definitely, I want to help you do that if I can in any way, like promote what you're doing. And,
yeah.
you know, I think that's a great approach with the blog and getting a forum going. And maybe you could just interview more people. I don't know what you plan on doing, but,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
more and more stories getting out there is what we need. Right? Well, I
yeah,
mean, you've got a ready-made project in your narcotics website. So there you go,
mhm.
getting your work out
Yeah,
there. Yeah. And then, I
yeah.
don't know, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, that wasn't even something I was planning, like thinking about doing until I started doing freelance writing. And I wrote a post for Elephant Journal about like ways to get off of narcotics. And I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna do that, so that
Yeah.
I remembered.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you're an expert on it, so there you go. Um, well, cool. Yeah, anything else you want to mention or highlight about what you're doing? Like, how can we get a hold of you? And
You can go to the website. It's just overcomingnarcotics.com.
okay,
Pretty straightforward. And then I have more contact information on there. I just barely launched it, so it's pretty new, but
yeah, okay. Well, that's great. I mean, it's only going to get bigger and better, and we'll get it out there as best we can.
yeah, hopefully it can help some
Yeah,
people.
nice. I'm sure it will.
But,
Definitely.
yeah.